Hello everyone. I really want to thank each and every one of you for bestowing that love on my channel. It really motivates me to help my students in the best possible way for them to learn English. Of course, I am not getting as much subscription as the viewers. So I request all of you, please subscribe my channel and like the videos if you like them. In this video, I am going to particularly talk about short stories. Yes, a very important component of any English literature syllabus, whether we have it for any classes. Be it CBSE, ICSE, IB, whatever. Whenever we talk of literature, literature always consists of prose and poetry. We can have sometimes drama, plays, novels, and short stories. And at school level, short stories is something which is always part of the syllabus. But how do we need to prepare short stories? As a teacher, I have often seen that students, when they read this story and they feel that now they know everything about this story and they can treat all kinds of questions properly. But no, they are mistaken, and that's why they are not able to score well. When you read a story, there are many things that you need to keep in mind while reading, and you need to make certain notes on that. Alright, so in this video, I am going to discuss about those elements of short stories that you all need to know to read and appreciate a story, to write a story, and also to prepare it for your exam. So let's go ahead. When I say elements of a story, what do I mean by that? Elements means components, or you can say the parts which make up a story, right? Now these parts have to be thoroughly studied by the reader. Only then you can appreciate a story or enjoy a story. And at the same time, if you want to write a story, these are the elements which should definitely be there in your stories. Now, basically, there are four elements that make up a story. One is the setting. Setting means when and where. Then characters and characterization. Next component is plot. And plot has many things. First of all, it has the conflict, then exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. And next is theme. Theme is the main idea or ideas running through the story. Yes, it's not important that one story will have one theme only. There can be more than one also. And also, theme is not the moral. Okay, there is a difference. Theme is actually the main idea which is running through the story. There is no compulsion that it gives you certain moral or teaching. Moral is what you learn from the story, right? So now let's go into detail of each component. Now, what is the setting of the story? If we say the setting, it actually means the time and place in which the events occur. This includes the environment, weather, or sometimes historical period. So these aspects provide a backdrop for the character's action in the story. They can influence the narrative's plot, mood, and tone. So it becomes really important as a reader for us to know the place, means where the story was set, and when the story was set. All right, the time. Because if we have understanding of these two things, then only we can understand the story in a better way. Then only we'll be able to understand why the character behaved in that particular manner. All right. The next is characterization. See, when we say character means the people who are involved in the action of this story. But characterization actually is the portrayal of their characters. I can be one of the characters of someone's story, but 10 different people can portray my character in 10 different ways. That is, characterization means portrayal of the personality that we give to our character. And you see, we can always know about the characters with these 5 factors. Style. S for speech. Speech means what the characters say, how do they say it, what is their tone, their word choice. So whenever you read any dialogues in a story, you should definitely be able to find out the character traits out of those dialogues, out of those speeches which are there. Usually in ICSE and ISC, students do Shakespeare's drama. And you will see, characters are not introduced directly by the narrator. We are supposed to find character traits based on these 5 factors. All right. Through their dialogues, we might know about the character. All right. Now, next is thoughts. What does the character think? What do we learn from their thought process or their ideas? Okay. What do we learn about their personality? So, you will find that often students are asked this question: what do you come to know about this character when he said this, or when he behaved in that way? All right. So, next is effects. What is this character's effect on others? How do they interact with other characters? That also tells us about the personality traits of one character. Next, of course, is the actions. What does this character do? How do they behave? What can we learn from their actions? And of course, looks means physical appearance. How does the character look like? What can we learn from the way they present themselves to others? All right. So these 5 factors are very important in understanding the characterization. All right. So whenever you read about the character, through their speech, through the thoughts, through the actions, try to make certain notes where you can where you can know about their personality traits. Now, next is plot elements, very important. You see, the plot of this story is actually the series of events that make up a story. When we read a story, we are very easily able to know the plot that way. But you see, there are 5 plot elements which we should always pay attention to. Then only we are able to understand the story in the best possible way. It begins from the exposition. As you can see, on the left hand side downwards is the exposition. Exposition actually occurs at the beginning. It sets the background for the story. This is how the story is introduced. All right. So it introduces the main character, setting, basic situation needed to understand this story. After that comes rising action. As you can see, it's a form of triangle. Then comes rising action. Now, rising action is the main part of this story, which includes the problem, means conflict. What is this conflict? Conflict can be the idea or the problem around which the whole plot of this story revolves. Right? The main part, that is the conflict. This conflict can be men versus men. This conflict can be men versus nature. This conflict can be men versus any supernatural element. All right? And sometimes this conflict can be between men and men, man and himself. Right? So, here in the rising action we find the conflict, and usually set up as 3-4 main events. Okay, so the action proceeds upwards and it reaches the climax. Now you see, one of the biggest myth: climax is not the end of the story. Climax is actually the turning point of the story. It is the most exciting part of a story. Okay, it can be a surprising factor in the story. It can be a turning point in the story. That is why it is called the climax. Now, once the climax is reached, means we are able to know in what way the story has turned. Then the actions which take place after the climax, the events that occur that follow the climax, they are that those events, those actions are called falling actions. And then comes resolution. Resolution is the final outcome, the end of the story, where all the loose ends are tied up. All right. So this is how the plot is actually a process. Okay, we need to understand the process. We need to understand the exposition of the story, then the climax, the conflict, and resolution. We should be able to know. Now, next more very important factor is theme. You see, a theme is a message or idea, but a theme is not a moral. Students often get confused between two things. That's why I have mentioned them this way. A theme is a message or idea that is running throughout the story. It can be stated in a sentence. It is an author's observation about human nature. It is found in all literary elements of a story, be it characters, setting, plot, and conflict. It is, of course, arguable. You may interpret a situation in a different way. The other person can do it in a different way. It is implied, not directly stated. All right. For example, hard work results in success. the story, this is the theme, this is the idea which must be running through the story. Now, what theme is not? It is not a moral, it is not a lesson, it is not an advice, it is not a you statement what you should do and you should not do. It's not a fortune cookie message. You know, a fortune cookie message is like a simple short message telling, giving an advice. It's not one word. Theme can never be stated in one word. It's not even the summary. It's not the gist of the poem or the story. The example, you know, for a non-example, which is not an example of theme, slow and steady wins the race. Now, this is a proverb. This proverb can never be the theme. Okay? I hope you are able to differentiate between them. So children, next time whenever you prepare a story for exam, so please take these points into consideration, make notes on them. Then I am very sure whatever question comes, you will be able to treat it well, you will be able to do justice, and you will be able to score very good marks in it. That's all for now. Bye-bye.